We're live.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 110 of the Missed Call Podcast. This is Cubwood here with Sauce Sartori and special guest from Michigan women's soccer team, Hillary Beall. Hillary, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
This is a big one for us. We haven't done a ton of soccer talk on the podcast yet, and we're very excited to have you on. A number one goalie in the nation at one point, a phenomenal talent for the University of Michigan. We're so excited to have you here to talk about soccer, other things too. But to get it started, I guess, to novice fans, I would say that it would seem like blocking a kick is kind of a guessing game, but I think I'm smarter than that. I think that I know that there's more than just luck that goes into it. What is it as a goalie that you do to put yourself in the best position?
I mean, I can't give away all my tips on here, but
is it for real like a individualistic thing? I honest to God, I don't know. I've never played goalie.
I mean,
soccer and I have never
met.
No.
It can totally vary. I mean,
okay.
A lot of it's reaction, so that's it. I've worked with all my life a futsal goalkeeper, so he's kind of like a lot of it too. Is if you read players and the way their hips go, it gives you a little bit of an advantage. But if you cheat, you get beat. So
that makes sense. If it rhymes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So what kind of like reaction drills do you do then?
Well, like a lot of it, if it's on an angle, it's a lot easier. So kind of like wherever my coach wants to shoot it, I gotta go. But sometimes there will be like a dummy that they put in front of the goal, and then they'll lay it down on a ball and it'll deflect off the dummy and then go the other way. Or what else is there? There will be some where like you'll have just a net that you hold and you like bounce the ball back off. Kind of goes wherever you want.
Well, I think it's kind of crazy to be a soccer goalie because you have a pretty wide net to try to cover.
Yeah.
Like, not to throw shade on the hockey goalie, but you know, a hockey goalie is about the size of the net. Now he's stopping a smaller target, and it might be traveling at a faster rate of speed, but you've got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. I mean, it is a little bit different. I think like when you learn about it at first, it's all about angles. So if you can like some shots, you might want to take space because it cuts the goal down. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, that helps a lot with being able to cover more space. But if a forward hits a good shot in the top corner, you got to accept reality that you can't save it all.
That's fair. No, but I think it's really interesting the way that you said I'm not going to give away all my tricks. I think I had no idea that it was that individualistic way. Like, so I'm very big into baseball.
Just check out his shirt.
Oh yeah, this is a Sandlot shirt.
So are you a Cubs fan?
That would
Can
be
you
me.
tell?
That would be me.
Yep, I actually like the Cubs too. So
you're my kind of gal, Hillary. But in baseball, you know, each pitcher is his own individual. There's not one set way that you pitch, and each pitcher has their own tendencies. So is it similar to that, where if you have a tell or something, then an opposing player can know how to attack you?
Yeah, kind of. Like it's kind of like a batter up against a pitcher, where like you can know like the pitcher would be the forward, so I can like know a player's tendencies and go play in a game based off that. But a lot of it too is like understanding if like pressure's coming from behind and you're on a 1v1, they're not going to want to really go across their body if there's a defender on the post, like the near post. A lot of times they want to go the other way because the defender has that covered. So it's kind of like understanding statistics and like angles of like where you want them to shoot, giving them maybe one way more than another, so then they take it.
Kind of influencing and forcing that player's hand.
Yeah, mess with their mind.
That's fascinating. I guess I've never thought about it that way. I guess I was maybe just too dumb to put 2 and 2 together. But
It's math.
yeah, it's math. Me and math. Again, me and math, me and soccer, it never did this. It never came together.
Yeah, math's not my favorite either.
I can read, kinda. So how much of it is like when you go into a game, how much of like scouting reports are you reading and like knowing certain players? Is there anything that you can do for that?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, you don't really have access to that. You can like PKs, you can get the scouting report on those.
Okay.
But I mean, shots are kind of like most of the shots in the game you face are reactionary. But
Gotcha.
if a player is like they love their left foot, then you know that, and you know kind of like their tendencies. But for the most part, it's like up in the air.
So do you thrive off of just having the game put on your shoulders? Because if you let up 1 or 2 goals per game, it could result in a loss.
Yeah. Like I was never really into the forward stuff of scoring the goals. I always like to like go against the odds and shut people down. Like, haha, you can't get a shot off on me.
Did you ever do the finger whack?
No, I haven't. I've seen somebody do it on, like, I saw it last year. It wasn't my favorite thing. So I'm kind of like not today type person.
Okay. All right. Not in this house.
Yeah, not in my house.
Got you. Kind of building off of this, learning what the mind of the goalie is and how it all operates. The goalie position is one that is isolated and isn't always a part of the larger moving machine, at least to the best of my knowledge, right? Because the action can be on the other side of the pitch and you're standing on the other side of the pitch.
Yeah.
Is it ever odd out there where you could just kind of just watch everything happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sometimes like a misconception of the goalkeeper position. A lot of it like comes from the back to the front of organizing your defense.
Okay.
So if you can get your defense in a line to like maybe cover up spaces that's in between them or mark players in front of them, you can prevent a lot of things. So communication's big. But yeah, I've had those boring moments where I look into the stands and I find my parents.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Are there any other misconceptions about being a goalie?
I think that sometimes people will think that they're not as fit. We're pretty fit. We have to run the same conditioning tests. Don't have to get the same scores, but the scores are still a high standard. But the one about goalkeepers being crazy, it's true. We are crazy.
Okay, this is a conversation. This is a conversation that we had yesterday while prepping for this interview. Cub wanted to kind of bring up the topic of when you have that sort of isolation, if you will, as the goalie in whether it be soccer or in hockey, and even pitchers sometimes in baseball can tend to be a little odd because you are sometimes on your own little island.
Yeah. I think too the nature of the position, you sign up yourself to basically like win or lose games, but also like take shots to your body. So it's kind of like you either like it or you don't. It's not meant for everybody, but I think it takes a crazy breed to be able to stand in goal and just like get hit by balls all the time.
Yeah, because some of those balls come in at like 80 plus, right?
Yeah, they can come pretty quick. It's like you get used to being hit at one point, so.
Yeah, I was curious because I was like, Sauce, I'm like, there has to be some sort of correlation with like pitchers, kickers. Like everyone's like, oh, pitchers are weird, kickers are weird. I'm like, I gotta ask. There has to be a certain point where something comes up we can ask. And I'm glad she said, yeah, we're a little weird.
Yeah, they call it the goalkeeper spectrum. So it's like normal
goalkeeper spectrum,
goalkeeper or field player, and it's like depends on where you lie on it.
Speaking of goalkeeping, we're in a time in America where we're learning about what's the right word to use for referring to certain types of people. Can you educate us and our listeners? Are we supposed to call you guys goalkeepers or goalies?
Oh, goalies is offensive in the keeper world. So you can say goalkeeper or keeper.
Keeper world.
Yeah.
I've been saying goalie to start this entire podcast, and now I feel like an
No,
absolute
you're
asshole.
good. Goalie's like the hockey term.
Okay, so goalkeeper.
Yeah, goalkeeper.
Keeper. Would netminder work?
Yeah, I mean keeper is like the local
Keeper.
term.
Keeper.
Yeah.
We're going with keeper from here on out. I will never ever use goalie to refer to a goalkeeper in soccer ever again. You have changed me. You have educated me.
No,
We have
you're
offended
good.
so many people.
Yeah, it's okay. It takes a while to learn about it. So
We're learning. We're learning.
Yeah.
I just feel so bad because I've used goalie for so long on this podcast.
So
So-
another thing, why exactly do the goalkeepers have such cool jerseys?
We have to stand out from the rest of the field players because well, also we're like cool people, but
right.
yeah. But in a game, like the goalkeepers are kind of the most protected position by the referee. So like people can't really hit me as much as like maybe a field player could be hit. So we have to stand out from the rest of them, and we can use our hands. So you got to stand out if you're using your hands on the field.
Makes sense.
But wouldn't the gloves point it out too? Because those things are massive.
Yeah, I don't know, referees. We need to really just.
That's
stand
true.
out.
Referees, that applies to all sports.
Yeah.
So in America, we're not. I mean, I think the way that we talk about soccer on this podcast kind of explains where we're at in America. We know a little bit. We know you kick the ball, you can't use your hands. We just learned that it's supposed to be goalkeeper and not goalie. But one of the other things that's a common fact, I think, in America is that women's soccer is better than men's soccer. I'm curious if you have an explanation for that.
I have my own kind of theory.
Okay.
I guess I think that I mean there's sports like football, basketball, baseball, which are like kind of unique sports to America. I think that we're leaders in those sports for our country. I think soccer's kind of maybe like the third or fourth like sport for men to pick. So I think that it's just kind of where the athletes end up. Don't get me wrong, men's soccer players are phenomenal athletes, but
yeah.
I think
the women are just better athletes in soccer.
And then I think that it's the women have accepted that it's a global game, and I think we've just thrived in our role. We're really compared to other countries, we're pretty athletic and strong. It's like a unique trait, and I think that a lot of athletes that are well-rounded end up in soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I think American women are starting to really, I guess, maybe find the sports that work really well. And I hope that doesn't come off in any way, shape, or form. But find the sports that work well, and that women are excelling in right now, which is soccer, which is volleyball, which I think it's a crime against humanity. There is not a really great professional women's volleyball league in America.
I agree.
And basketball as well. And those seem to be like the three big sports. Cheerleading up until you get to a certain point, because cheerleading at a professional level versus cheerleading when you're a kid is much different. But it's interesting, I think, where we're at with soccer and how great the women in this country are at the sport.
Yeah, I think so too. Like from a global perspective, soccer is like one of the sports. It's like the language of the world. So I think it allows the platform that FIFA's created. The Olympics has allowed for us to excel at a global platform and just like be adapted by a sport that's all over. And I think it's like allowed us to form a league here with the success of the '99 Women's World Cup team and just keep building off of being dominant. So it's nice.
Yeah, most definitely. Now you talk about the Olympics. You had the opportunity to play for the U20 Team USA. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great trip. I got a couple of trips to France out of that. But just being there, being like representing the country was awesome. To be able to just see the world, play against other countries was fun.
Most definitely.
And then was it U19 or was it U20 that you were with Sinclair Miramontes?
So I'm trying to think because like Sinclair and we play against each other in the Big Ten. I don't like remember if we actually were in a camp together. I think it might have been like 17s or 19s that we were in one camp together. But yeah, I did meet her there.
Former guest in the pod.
Yeah, sure.
Bring it up. What was that?
She was telling me about it.
Oh, she told you that I asked about her.
She filled you in a little bit or what?
A little bit. She's like, it's fun.
We try to be fun.
No, it's good. So far, so good.
Awesome. I hope we don't screw it up. So this is a question I asked a couple weeks ago to Tori Dixon. Was the 4th of July any better for you after having played for Team USA? Was celebrating the 4th of July just that much better?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, actually, we were. It was in 2018. The World Cup was going on. We were in Portland for a camp at the Nike headquarters. That was like sickest camp ever. And we actually spent 4th of July together, so that was really fun. Like being with the U20 national team on the 4th of July was like, I think that was one of the better 4th of Julys I've spent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How much free stuff did you get from being at Nike?
A lot. Nike took care of us.
The perks.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot of people know what the powerhouse conferences are, let's say in football, maybe in baseball, basketball as well. For women's soccer, what is the conference in the NCAA?
Oh, probably right now a race, between the Pac-12 that Stanford's a powerhouse, but the ACC is pretty phenomenal too because they've got Virginia, North Carolina, Duke. They got like a lot of national championships in between those two conferences.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess it would be maybe some of the warmer places would be.
Yeah.
But that just seems to be like in general how, unless you're playing hockey. But don't forget about the Big Ten and Michigan as well. I mean, they have to be a powerhouse with you on the team, right?
Yeah. My first couple of years here, it was like interesting to see. We didn't have our best year, but our coach is awesome right now. We took a run. We actually lost to UNC in the Sweet 16 last year.
Okay.
Haven't been there since like 2012 or 2013. So it was a good run. We're doing pretty well right now. So hopefully we get our season in.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So you said when you were looking into which school you were going to go to, because you could have gone feasibly to any school, being the number one goalkeeper in the country for your recruiting class. You said you wanted to go somewhere where you could make your mark and put a program on the map. I mean, the first Sweet 16 since 2012 sounds like that's going the right way so far.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at all my options, I did like have a lot of pretty much could have gone anywhere. Michigan stood out to me because of their excellence in academics and athletics. And I was like, our facility is sick. Our field is really nice. They do a great job taking care of it. I was like, this is a school that could be pretty good in soccer. So just kind of wanted to go somewhere I could play right out the gate. And it's working out pretty well. Getting better every day.
Yeah, Michigan women's soccer is way better than football. We'll say that.
What was your first Midwest winter like?
I thought I liked snow because I grew up like going up to Mammoth Mountain snowboarding, and then I realized like snow sucks. In my first winter, just trekking to school with my boots on, I was kind of pissed about it, but I thought it was fun for the first 2 months, and then I was like, "Oh, this sucks."
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It hits differently in the Midwest.
Yeah, well, I've never been to Mammoth Mountain, and I'm actually not quite sure where that is at all. But I'm going to assume
It's in California.
I was going to assume that it was somewhere out west. But here in the winter, when it does get cold, well, I think it sucks a little bit more than other places because wind chills and the snow is not nice. It usually ends up turning into like a slush that eats through shoes and boots, and it's just gross. So we were interested when we found out you were from Southern California. You know, coming to a Midwest winter for the first time had to be.
Yeah, it wasn't what I thought it was like when I was recruited here. I never visited in the winter. They kind of like pushed me away from that. I only visited in the summer, but it worked.
Whatever you do, don't let her come in the winter.
Yeah, I think that was their strategy.
So being from Southern California, I go to DePaul, and there's like everyone's from California. That's like the women athletes at DePaul, and a lot of them on the soccer team are from California. What's the competition like in California with soccer?
I'm not gonna lie, California is probably one of the best states, or Southern California specifically is the best region for women's soccer. I think there's just a lot of talent down there. They have like 3 prominent clubs that, like, there's only 3 teams that you could really good teams that you could be on. And just competition wise, a lot of kids come from there. I think it has a lot to do with the weather being a year round sport you can play and like being outside, I think. But also just, I don't know, a lot of good players come out of there.
Yeah, because I can name like 3 off the top of my head that I know are from California.
Yeah.
And volleyball too.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you don't have to pay to go inside to practice,
Yeah.
you're a pretty decent athlete.
I know.
Really.
Have you, in being in the Midwest, have you found some cuisine that is maybe native to this area that you've really started to like?
I don't know.
Say pizza.
I mean, they have a Joe's Pizza here. It's pretty good, but I've been to Chicago a couple times. Their food's all spot. Pretty good. Yeah.
That's a good spot.
But I'm kind of like I like fresh food, so I think there's a couple spots, but no cuisine that I'm not a big like hearty meal person.
Okay, we thicken up your bones in the Midwest.
Hold on. When she said fresh meal, Sauce's smile went from a big ass smirk to a frown.
I was like, yeah, we don't have that.
You poor guy.
There's no banana trees. There's no orange trees. You can maybe grow a cucumber in the backyard.
Yeah, I think I have like a tomato plant in the back. One of my roommates. So.
And that's gardening in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's gardening. It works. It's the effort.
So it is. I think it is funny too. Being from Southern California, there's a lot of misconceptions about maybe the lifestyle, the breed of people who are from there. What is the biggest misconception about being from SoCal?
Oh, geez.
Or some of the biggest. You know, we can rattle off a whole list here if you want.
I mean, growing up there all my life, you don't really hear about the misconceptions.
Oh, true.
But probably that everybody surfs, not everyone surfs. Or don't call it Cali. That's like
it's Cal, bro. Cal.
Or just California. Cali is like a huge no-no.
Okay.
No doubt, bro. No doubt.
Don't call it.
How overrated is In-N-Out? I've never been. Sauce has. He says it's overrated.
Oh, you've never been? I don't think it's overrated. I think it's a pretty good burger. The sauce there is just fire. And the way they make your burger, I'm not big on the French fries, but the burgers, it's good.
Hold on, just real quick before you ask about Whataburger, Cub. I want you to know we're going to cut out that sound clip where you said sauce is fire. We're gonna cut that out, and I'm gonna make it my ringtone or something.
So is Whataburger better?
I don't think I've ever been to Whataburger.
Oh.
Yeah. Five Guys, I think, is the biggest competition in California.
I don't like Five Guys.
I don't either.
It's expensive.
Like Four Guys.
Good one, Sauce. I can't even afford Five Guys. You get one burger, it's $35 with fries.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. I think In-N-Out's like the best burger. They don't really change their prices either.
I went to a Whataburger one time in San Antonio, Texas. I walked into the lobby. It smelled like an armpit, and I left.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too
appetizing.
Appetizing, yeah.
Whataburger just reminds me of A&W.
I know what that is. I think I've like seen one of them in the airport. I just like the root beer as a kid.
Yeah, it's a disgusting place to be, the restaurants.
In those frosty mugs. I love a good frosty mug. So, Hillary, on this podcast, part of what we do on top of educating people about the difference between a goalie and a goalkeeper is that we also like to provide platforms for athletes who may not get the recognition or the coverage that they deserve. So in doing so, we partnered with what's called the See Us movement. And essentially, they're a movement that runs camps and programs for young girls to show them and empower them that they can be great and powerful athletes just like anybody else. I say that to set up the fact that this is the See Us question. And we know that you advocate for gaining equal treatment for women athletes, and you are trying to improve the conditions for women's soccer. What exactly are you doing to improve those conditions?
I think it's like being an advocate for the sport is big for me right now. With college,
Sure.
Everything's kind of, it's like you get here and like the people that have fought for Title IX, you owe it to them. I think what I continue to do, I've actually written a couple papers about like the sport of soccer and how it's been changed over time due to the '99 World Cup team, but also realizing like being able to be in this position is a gift in itself, and that not everyone gets the opportunity to have a shot at doing it. So I've like worked a lot with just like going to local areas, tutoring kids, doing a little thing for the Women's Sport Foundation in Detroit, just hanging out with some girls and trying to inspire them to reach for their dreams.
The thing we also like to ask is, as fans of women's sports, how do we help normalize watching and going to female sports? Or, yeah. Couldn't get that out.
Yeah, no, like being supportive. I think the biggest thing is like watching them right now. The NWSL is going on. So today's game, the Thorns and the Courage, was a thrilling game. Just watching them. I think that it's important when you do those things, it like brings in revenue and it just brings attention. And I think just like tweeting about it too, hopefully like it continues to grow. I think the biggest platforms right now are the Olympics and the World Cup for the woman. It like allows for the sport to just thrive off of that publicity.
Because I feel like I maybe it's because I follow so much of like women's sports now, but I feel like there's so much more on Twitter. Like I feel there's a lot more coverage nowadays with women's sports.
Yeah, I think Twitter's a great platform to be able to voice your opinion, and I think that Twitter's really helped grow like the WNBA, the NWSL, just like get people talking about it.
Because the Players Tribute has a lot of like articles with women athletes, and I feel like a lot of people read that and like follow them. So I keep up with it, and there's a lot of great articles like Deladon's the other day with the 64 pills or 61 pills.
Yeah,
outrageous.
Yeah, I read that one too the other day. That was crazy to me. I think sometimes like people have misconceptions about women in sports, but to just see that like we really do put a lot of effort into what we do, and like it's not just like we complain, but we work so hard. And I think sometimes we get such little recognition. So just like supporting women's sports is the biggest thing you can do.
And to your point, Hillary, you say like, women put in the work. Like a soccer player is a soccer player, right? Like they have to work out to be a soccer player. A basketball player is a basketball player, and they have to work out to be a basketball player. There's no shortcuts because you're a man or a woman, or there's no shortcuts to it. You still have to put that work in, and for whatever reason, it seems like there are a lot of people out there who discredit the work that women in sports do, and it hasn't ever made much sense to me, and it continues to not make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. It gets frustrating sometimes, but you kind of learn how to deal with it, and you just gotta like keep going, prove them wrong.
Yeah, and that's. Go ahead, Cub.
I was gonna say, going off that, like on Twitter, everyone sees this, like the misogynistic males that say they're fans of sports, but then they're over here crapping on a woman who just achieved something that they will never achieve in their entire life. It doesn't make any sense to Sauce and I, and like anyone that watches and supports women athletes. It makes zero sense. If you're a fan of sports, you support both sides.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was actually looking on Twitter the other day. There's some girl like hitting balls over the fence.
Oh, the nukes.
Hitting nukes.
Yeah. She was like doing soft toss, but she was just like hitting them out of the park. And I looked at the comments, and it was a lot of men just saying like, "Oh, I could do that." But I think it's like, just like, well, let's see it. But also like, why are you on here like spending time discrediting an athlete achieving something great? Or like, I mean, I don't think I could ever do that, what she was doing.
And she's in high school. I'm pretty sure she's in high school.
Yeah, that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that is awesome. I don't know if you're familiar with Katie Nolan and the show that she does on ESPN, or the show she used to do on ESPN. But she had this show where she would bring people in who would call out athletes on Twitter, right? So like, let's say somebody was like, "Oh, I could have made that field goal kick." She would bring people in and be like, "All right, here's your shot to make the field goal kick." And everybody would flub miserably. It would just be an awful showing for that person. I feel like we should have more of that. There should be entire TV shows dedicated to that one segment.
Yeah, I think it would make good, like, for good content on SportsCenter.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
It would be better content than me saying, "Hey, Sauce, do you think you could do this with one of our guests?" Because I love doing that. I love setting up challenges for our boy Sauce over here.
It was Hillary, for a while, it was something that he would do almost every podcast, where it was like, do you like, we talked to Brenna Moss, who was an MVP of the National Pro Fast Pitch League. And she was the MVP. She was also the stolen base leader that year. And Cub asked her, "Hey, do you think you could beat Sauce around the bases?"
Oh, hold on. Hillary, before you make a comment, Sauce's first step is so quick. It's his second.
I'm so happy we retired this. And then it got to the point where we, on top of having great interviews with women in sports, we also like to have interviews with we call it the Thick Athlete Society. So we like to talk to like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, large humans who don't necessarily get the love. Right.
Yeah.
And so he would be putting me in these matches, or theoretical matches, against linemen that are 6'4", 320 pounds.
And it's
basically sacrificing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's content.
Yep, it is.
But like, I feel like with these guys that say this, how about you go against her and then see how well you do and how well you perform, because you probably won't even get close.
Yeah. You get it a lot as a goalkeeper. Sometimes there will be some like friends of friends that will be like, "Oh, let's go shoot on Hillary." And they're like, "I bet you, like, watch this, I'll score on you." I was like, "Well, yeah, if you had a theoretically great shot, you're going to score on me. It's just like chances of you scoring might be less than if it's somebody else, or like, but it's still, I'm still human. I still can be scored on."
Right. Well, but you said, obviously you have to live with it. And you have to find ways to get around it, combat it. How have you done that in your career? I hope that nothing like that has happened to you. But if it has, how have you dealt with that, or how have you combated that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily it hasn't really happened to me much. Sometimes, you get subtle comment or like, oh, well, it's women's soccer. You just kind of like, screw you. Like,
Yeah.
like if it's somebody, I'm just like, oh, well, I'd love to see you do it, but
Scum of the earth.
yeah.
Factual. Hillary, we have enjoyed thoroughly having you on the podcast today. I've learned, I can say with confidence, I can say with my chest, I learned a lot today.
That's good to hear. I'm glad you can learn a little bit about the goalkeepers.
Goalkeepers. That is the biggest,
Yeah.
that is the number one
keepers.
takeaway from this podcast. Keepers.
Yeah, keepers.
But again, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule to sit down and talk with us, educate our listeners. We pray to God that you have a season this year, and we will be cheering you on from, my gaming chair, with full enthusiasm.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
I'll be legally streaming those games, of course, as well.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, this has been episode 110 of the Wow, this is my podcast, and I don't know the name. But this has been episode 110 of the Missed Call podcast. We'll see you guys next week.